You're welcome back to UPfront. And tonight we're having a conversation with the Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare, yes, Nsiah-Asare, yes, that's if I got it right there, who joins us via Zoom for a conversation. And this conversation is primarily based on what started off yesterday as Ghana's national honors. Ghana yesterday honored some very distinguished people who have played roles not only in the COVID-19 fight, but also helped Ghana in its international law of the sea and also this boundary dispute with Cote d'Ivoire. If you put the two together, the President of the Republic of Ghana, whilst naming some of these very distinguished people, particularly mentioned that others have also contributed meaningfully, and this is a non-partisan quest to acknowledge people of this republic who have done so well. Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Raymond.
Now, let me start from the very premise, because it's important. Not long ago, this is 2020, we had COVID, and it was a very terrifying period. You were part of those who have been awarded, and specifically for the kind of job you did during these awards. How do you feel, and how do you think the work that we did during COVID contributed to this?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening to your cherished listeners and viewers. So I think it's about 3 years ago. Exactly 3 years, 2 days. That is on the 12th of March. We had our two patients who tested positive for COVID-19. In fact, during that time, remember, COVID was made pandemic around, I think, early part of March 2020. And as a country, we continuously were testing because we knew anybody who has COVID will come from outside the country because it was an imported virus which was coming into the whole world. We realized we were not so much prepared like the whole world. Nobody was prepared for COVID. And you remember the sort of things that people were saying, that if you are not very careful, COVID will kill Africans. 3 million or so people will die from COVID. We prepared ourselves. And we then took it upon ourselves through the leadership of His Excellency the President to try as much as possible to mitigate any adverse problems which will come from COVID. So the President formed the National COVID-19 Task Force, which some of us happen to be very key members because I'm the advisor of health to the President. We also got a national coordinator because as you are aware, COVID is not just a health issue. It became a total socio-economic issue for the whole country. And we brought in a lot of people from all the other ministries and also from civil society, scientists, and from some of our universities and institutions. So that's how the fight began. Then we started having a lot of patients. You remember that we had only 2 places where we have PCR machines which could test COVID-19 virus, that is the coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. And we continued bringing in a lot of PCR machines, inputs, and all sorts of things. Noguchi and KCCR developed a system where we can do pool testing so that when you test about 10 people, it means you have tested about 100 people, which was all innovative ways that were all put together. We then have to find places where we will isolate and keep and manage, especially the critically ill patient, to make sure that we don't have so much deaths. But God being so good, I believe, and I'm strongly certain in my mind that all the things that we put in place helped Ghana and assisted us to mitigate any adverse effect from COVID. And we are not different from any other country. We managed to save a lot of people, and we unfortunately lost about 1,462 patients, which brings our case fatality to less than 0.9. What it means is that if you want to see what is happening for any pandemic, you look at the number of tests that we do and the number of the associated deaths. And God being so good, we are one of the best in the country, in the world. And globally, we were also adjudged as one of the 3 countries who managed COVID successfully. That is with, I think, South Korea and I think Hong Kong. We've been doing that for the past 3 years, 2 days, and we've been managing in such a way that we don't import any new disease into this country. We've trained our health workers. Now almost every hospital and every health worker knows about infection prevention and control. We now know how to manage the critically ill patients. We've added a lot of critical care beds. We now have isolation centers throughout every region almost in the country. As we speak now, there are 14 isolation centers. Also, some of them have finished, which are under construction. By the benevolence of the private sector, we've been able to have an infectious disease center. We then also have another center which was put up by the UN to receive UN patients from all over the world, which on the 1st of February was handed over to His Excellency the President, and the President also handed it over to the Ghana Armed Forces, which is now undergoing, the people are undergoing training to take it over to convert it into a UN level 4 hospital where we can manage emergencies and critical care patients. So far, these are the things that we have done so far. In addition, we also realize that this country, we also don't have hospitals in almost all the districts in this country, the 260 districts. We realized when we did a quick check by the Ministry of Health Ghana Health Service, about 88 of the districts don't have any hospital that you can call a district. That's the primary hospital to receive cases from our sub districts and also from our chief centers. By the grace of God, His Excellency the President made a bold statement that we want every district in this country, all the 260 districts in this country, to have district hospitals. That's the reason why we're having the agenda 111. Not only district hospitals, we are going to have 101 district hospitals. As I speak now, about 90 of them have started at different stage of completion. Hopefully, we will complete some of them very soon and complete the others maybe in the coming months or by next year. We'll finish almost all what we have started. The others who have not started because of land issues are also going to start. We are going to do some of them into storage buildings. We are also going to have 7 regional hospitals, 6 in the new regions, and then Takrady also will have another regional hospital. We didn't think only about hospitals, but we also thought about mental health. And as you know, there are only 3 mental health hospitals in the country, all along the coast. So we are putting 1 mental hospital in the Middle Belt in Kumasi, exactly at the Bosomtwe municipality, and then we are putting another one also in the Tamale. So we'll have 3 hospitals, those in Accra, in the Middle Belt, in Ashanti region, near Kumasi, and also the Tamale one. We want to also redevelop and rehabilitate, redevelop and re-equip the Accra Psychiatric Hospital into a modern mental health facility. And in addition, we also want to make sure that our mental health services are also in good order and can treat our mental health professionals and treat mental health cases. So if you look at it, these are all something that have come from COVID. And also, we also realize that if you look at Africa, which the African Union also realized that about 99% of all vaccines, that is childhood vaccines or any vaccine, are imported. Only 1% are made in Africa, either by fill and finish. So Ghana, with other African countries, decided that, look, never again shall we be caught as we were caught when we started having the COVID-19 vaccines, where we have to wait for where they are manufactured. People pay for them, and it is when they finish using it and they need to give us some. That's why we started having COVID-19 vaccines for our teeming population. Remember when we had the first 600,000 doses, which we started on the 1st of March 2021. Everybody was rushing for it until we got enough doses to give to about 22 million people as we speak now. So we said never again. So we should then put ourselves in a position where we can also become one of the vaccine manufacturing hubs in Africa. And Ghana, we are doing this thing through the private sector. As we speak, last year, His Excellency the President commissioned one of the facilities which will be producing vaccines, the Atlantic Life Sciences manufacturing plant at Pram Pram. There's another one which is also going to be done by 3 pharmaceutical companies which have come together, DEK Vaccines Limited, which hopefully short-cutting and our groundbreaking will take place before the end of this month to also produce vaccines, not only COVID vaccines, but we want to produce all the vaccines that we use in this country, including childhood vaccines. Most important thing is that once you become vaccine manufacturing center in the hub in the sub-region, we will then be also creating jobs for our university graduates and TVET graduates, in addition to also selling these vaccines to the other countries to make dollars into their country. So it's going to create jobs, it's going to bring in foreign exchange, and then we will also be vaccine sufficient in the country and also in the sub-region. And in addition to the fact that we are going to have health security in the country. So this is what COVID has brought to us. COVID has brought a lot of infrastructure facilities so far as health is concerned. COVID has also assisted us to now train a lot of our health professionals in critical care, in the care of the critically ill patients. COVID has assisted us to also create a lot of critical care beds and emergency facilities in the country. COVID has helped us to also create a lot of infectious disease centers and also centers where we can isolate patients. If you remember, about some few months ago, we had an outbreak of Marburg, and you realize the speed that Ghana Health Service used to bring this one down, and then we didn't have any. I think we had unfortunately, about 1 or 2 people died, and recently we also have Lassa fever, and unfortunately the first patient died, but the rest have all been managed and managed well in our infectious disease centers across the country. So this is what COVID has taught us, and I'm very happy that we have a leadership through His Excellency the President to make sure that this happened to this country, and never again shall we be caught hands down when we have any pandemic.
I will be probably some of the issues you have raised. Very interesting stuff there. Now, but you were awarded, right? You were given one of the national honors. Have you heard the issues to do with whether or not we have awarded enough of the actual frontline people, doctors, nurses, the people who worked in our hospitals, and the people who did the actual work on the ground, and not politicians? You have heard that claim, right? Is it justified?
It's not justified. I'm sure if you listen to the statement that the president made, the president said that he is going to award 19,557 frontline health workers. What we did yesterday, we brought some of the health workers from across the country to come in to receive their certificates to show everybody that we are not only awarding people in Accra or politicians. So we brought in 45 of the health workers across the country. Every region brought at least 1 or 2 to receive certificates of honor from His Excellency the President. The rest of the 19,512 will also be given their certificates on regional basis. We will package them, go to the regions together with the regional ministers and the regional directors of health services to give their certificates to them. We also awarded certificates to the trustees of COVID-19 Trust Fund. Remember that there was a trust fund which had 8-member trust fund. They were also given certificates of honor. The private sector fund, which supported us to build the COVID-19 infectious disease center at Gais, 44 of them, the technical team were also awarded yesterday. And then we also awarded 34 institutions and faith-based organizations yesterday. Because you remember, when we had problems and we were bringing people from outside the country, we needed to put them in isolation. If you remember very well, the Church of Pentecost greatly gave us their conference center for free at Nyanya. NAT gave us their center in Kumasi. We also put patients there. And there are a lot of Catholic Church, the Pentecost, the charismatic group, and everybody were helpful. So yesterday, we also awarded 34 of them, plus the health institutions across the country who receive these patients. We gave also award to all and plaques to certificates to manufacturers of hand sanitizer and PPEs. Remember, when the COVID-19 started, we had the first cases on the 12th of March. Sanitizer, one sanitizer of 500 mils was costing, jumped to about nearly 200, 300, 500 Ghana cedis. But all of a sudden, through the innovation of some of our pharmaceutical companies and then other companies like Tabia and the rest, they all converted their lines readily and speedily to manufactured sanitizers, which brought the price of sanitizers very down. Another important innovation was those who sold our PPEs for us. Most of these companies who were hitherto seamstress and tailors who were sewing their own thing, just all of a sudden, within a matter of days, converted their places to sew personal protective equipment like bed sheets, gowns, and then also face masks. You remember, I think not long ago, you see people wearing face masks which match with their shirt, face mask in Kente and others, which some of them were even exported outside the country. So we gave them plaques and also certificates.
Okay, now,
we also
Doc,
gave 15 donors who gave more than 1 million cedis and above to the COVID Trust Fund, also certificates and plaques. And then we came to 60 grand medals were also for operational excellence for all health workers across the country. We gave them the grand medal. And 13 people also had member, those who had excellence, they performed. They are not politicians. They are professionals. They are health workers who were awarded. And the 18 people who also were the main people who were in charge of the COVID fight, the National COVID-19 Trust Fund, National COVID-19 Task Force were also awarded. And then there was one person who was also awarded for innovation. Remember, when COVID came, everybody was talking about Veronica Bucket. There's a lady called Mrs. Veronica Ayele Bequin, who actually is the inventor of the Veronica Bucket. Yesterday, he was singled out for her innovation, for innovating the Veronica Bucket, which was used extensively in all institutions and at homes. So he was also awarded. So these are the category of awardees that we give. I don't believe that we just look at somebody's face that you're a politician, you are not a politician to come for the award. It was done, the names were brought by the health institutions, the names were brought through the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health. And I don't believe that anybody who is working in the health sector presents his or her party card before he goes to work. So the awards was done across the country. We are going to continue to give to the other 19,512 who they couldn't come because we couldn't bring all of them from all the country, but we don't have space for them to be awarded their certificates of honor in the due course.
The minority in Ghana's parliament is saying that there are specific people who have no business being awarded in the first place. They mentioned the health minister, Dr. Kwaku Menu, and also the information minister, Kojo Oponkroma. They believe that even an Auditor General's report is actually asking the Ministry of Information to refund some 155,000, which the ministry actually gave to some officials within the ministry, which makes it quite strange for you to award somebody who is already in a ministry that has been fingered by the Auditor General to return or recover some amount of money. They also talk about all the issues from Sputnik V straight to the other issues about COVID monies that ought to be recovered or are being debated in Ghana's parliament. And the reports that are not conclusive. They believe that as for the health minister and his colleague information minister, you had no business dishing out awards to them.
I beg to differ. I think the award was given to people who performed and in the course of duty did the best for this country. We are in a country where everything is politicized and people talk about everything. But I believe that, I remember somebody said that most of the time we look at the cost, but you don't look at the effect. We all work together. I would say that the Minister for Information was always all over the place, trying to educate people. Whatever we come out with from the National COVID-19 Task Force.
Well, it appears I have a challenge with the Zoom connection to Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare. Yes, Doc, I can hear you now. You are making a point about the justification for still giving the awards to the Information Minister and the Health Minister, contrary to the view of the minority in Ghana's parliament.
Yeah, I don't agree with them. I think that we were rewarding those who, for one way or the other, were very actively involved in the fight against COVID. If you are talking about audit report, I think the audit report is still undergoing some consultation and investigation. So let's all wait and see what happened. I think that's what I would say. I believe that all those who were awarded medals and then recognized all deserve it, including the Information Minister and the Health Minister.
I mean, despite the reference to the current probes that are still ongoing. So if, for example, the probes are being deemed to have an effect on their role and the very refunds that are being demanded, would you recall the awards? Can it be done?
I believe that the auditor's report has come out. When auditor's report come out, there is continuously, we investigate and find out whatever has happened. And I believe that whatever money was used, whatever was done during the COVID period was done for a purpose. And I'm very certain in my mind that I don't see anything wrong with awarding the two ministers.
Now, moving beyond the very issue to do with who got an award when, there is also a bigger conversation about a country that still, or is it the opinion of government that we have concluded the fight against COVID? Some say the award's really pretty premature because the presumption is that we are still fighting COVID. Why award people now?
Yeah, but if you realize, I mean, we have come to a stage where COVID, you see, there's not, we won't have a period of time where there will be no COVID as a disease in this country or in the world. The most important thing is that we've managed COVID to an extent that now, let me tell you something, Raymond. If you go to every hospital, everybody can diagnose and manage COVID. Even individuals can also even know that the signs and symptoms I'm having, it looks like COVID. And then go to a hospital for a test and then manage. Thirdly, we have consistently over the past nearly about 1 year or so managed to contain whatever that we have as far as COVID is contained. So it is not that we are going to eliminate COVID completely. It will never happen. COVID has come to stay, but we have managed it. So when you finish it, you manage a disease. And then it becomes one of the issues that you have in the country. And we know how to manage it when there's outbreak or when there is increase in the numbers. I don't believe that we should wait and say that let's see when we don't have any case at all of COVID.
Okay.
If you look at most of the countries, every country has opened up because now they manage and we know what COVID is all about. We know how to manage it. We know how to treat it. Our health workers are well trained. We now have places where we can admit COVID patients, and we know how to test the COVID patient. For example, we started with only 2 labs. Now we have over 60 labs, including private sector labs and also government sector. I believe that and if His Excellency the President think that who have assisted us in this fight up to now, it's in the right order. We don't have to wait till there's no COVID patient at all, which I can assure you will not happen in this world.
Now, let me bring in another matter you raised. You're talking about we building a vaccine center that's going to make Ghana self-reliant when it comes to vaccines across the board, including that for the sixth childhood killer disease or the childhood killer disease. What is the status of our purchase, or if you like, our request from UNICEF to give us some vaccines worth over $6 million US?
Yeah, I cannot give you the details, but what I know, every year, Ghana Health Service, together with UNICEF, come out with a plan. How much vaccines you are going to procure, how much vaccines you are, which type of vaccine that are coming in. And then they then bring the vaccine to us frequently. That's what is done every year. Ghana is still under the Gavi support. Luckily, because of what is happening worldwide, Gavi, we are supposed to transition out of Gavi by 2027. So that after 2027 and 2028, we're supposed to then fully procure all our vaccines without any assistance, because we are now in the lower middle income economy. Gavi has agreed to put the transition at 31st of December 2029. So Gavi, UNICEF, Ghana Health Service, together with Gavi, we have a projection for the amount and the type of vaccines which will come for our EPI, that's Expanded Program of Immunization. I can also assure you that we have one of the best expanded program of immunization in Ghana since we started in 1987. And once a while, sometimes there is some slight issues, especially you have to first pay your counterpart funding for Gavi, and then there are some of the vaccines for about 4 of the diseases, which are about 3 vaccines that we as a country procure ourselves. And this is normally what is done. So if there is some slight difficulty for the last few weeks, I know that we brought in some vaccines which we are giving to do the stopgap whilst the UNICEF bring us the other parts of the vaccines. And this is normally done. I think people are saying that, oh, the vaccines which came from Nigeria. I can assure you, when I was the Director General of Ghana Health Services, we also sent some of our vaccine out. For example, there was one time that we had enough antiretrovirals for children, and some of the countries, like I think Gambia also, ran short of it. We agreed with them a global fund, and then we send it to them, and then when they have their consignment, they send it back to us. So it's an arrangement which is normally done between countries and in the sub-region through those who bring us the vaccine, UNICEF, the WHO, Gavi. So it is not anything abnormal. The most important thing is that vaccination for children is time-bound, but we also have periods where we can have some extension that everybody can be covered. The most important thing is that those who were supposed to receive the time, maybe the weeks that there were no vaccines, Ghana Service have put plans in place to cover all of them. And I think I've seen it that you are showing where hospitals are now having a lot of people coming to take vaccines for their children. That is the beauty of it. That is where Ghana, we stand very tall. I want to tell everybody that we have one of the most robust public health systems in this sub-region and even in the world, where Ghana becomes a case study for an expanded program of immunization.
The question I ask is, when are we getting, Doc, the question I ask is, when are we getting the vaccines from UNICEF, the one we paid for? When are we getting it?
Oh, I know that when it comes, the part which has come in, is Ghana Health Service will give back to wherever they got it from. And then when we are getting it, I think within the next few weeks, I cannot tell you exactly the day that is coming. But once UNICEF has, they are the main people who do the supplies of vaccines to everybody within the sub-region. So they will get it as quickly as possible. And I know that the Ghana Health Service Director General said that they will have enough vaccines for the next 6 weeks or so. By that time, we have enough vaccines in the system to give to everybody.
And since I have you, I can have some quick updates on what's been happening with the One District, One Factory. You did hint that over 90 are different stages of completion. Is that also?
Yes, you know that, as I said, there are 101 district hospitals. 88 of them have started at different stages of completion. In fact, we are having a series of meetings with the contractors from various zones. There are 8 zones. And as I speak, maybe if I've come to your station, I'll give you pictures of some of them which have already been roofed. And they are doing external work, they are putting in the block work and everything. So 88 of the district hospitals are now at different stages of construction. There are some of them that we are yet to get land. For example, if you look at the Greater Accra Metro, it's very difficult to get even 3 acres of land in some places. So we are trying to change the drawings of places where we don't have the 15-acre land that we want to put the 1-story, which we are going now multi-story. The plans for those multi-stories are complete. We are doing the BOQs to make sure that we have the cost, and then we can also start that. It is true. I know there's some news going around, people showing all this and that. There are some of the contractors who have been given advanced mobilization, or we have about 298 contractors who are doing this work on the 101 sites. Some of them have 3 contractors, some of them have 2 contractors, a few of them have single contractors, according to the strength of the contractors. So 88 of these sites are working. Some are now about 50%, 50-something percent, and some are about 10%, depending upon the topography of the land. Some of them have to cut the encountered rocks. We have to make sure that the rocks are broken and filled. And because of that, we have to reduce the size. I know some sites that some people went to, that the contractor has already been given mobilization, because we gave the documents to them. Okay. We made the documents available to anybody who wants the documents. And they have seen that, and I've already been asking myself, when they were passing to these places, they should have passed through places where also work has been done, so that they can encourage Ghanaians, encourage the workers, encourage the districts where they are going on, to say that, yes, we are on track. But don't just pinpoint and go to places where there is a problem because the topography is not very good, and we are changing from 1-story to a multi-story. So that's the story. And those that don't have any site, we are looking for alternative sites. The regional hospitals are external procurement and construction, EPC plus finance, which is going through a system. It has to go through Parliament. It has to go through the Cabinet, to Ministry of Finance, to Cabinet, then to Parliament for approval of the fund for the construction, so that we can have a turnkey project. I don't believe that anybody in this country, irrespective of the party that you belong, when you see a district hospital coming to your place, you say you don't like it.
Doc, my
People
question...
who are following this team have also hospitals, some of them have hospitals in their constituencies, in their districts, which are all ongoing. Doc, so that's what I was saying. The project is ongoing, it's moving on, and we are praying very hard that no unnatural disaster or anything will happen, which will not happen in this country. And God being on our side, we will start the commissioning of these hospitals this year. That's what our plan is.
When will the first one be completed? When will the first completed hospital be open to the public? When? Specific date?
I won't give you a specific date so that you come back to me. But what I'm saying is that we are praying to His Almighty God that we will see some of the hospitals completed and put to use, God willing, this year.
Okay, now there's another question. You mentioned vaccines that we're going to produce locally. You actually mentioned that of those with the childhood killer disease, really, that for those childhood killer diseases will be also part of the vaccines we'll be manufacturing. When are we going to build, complete, and start manufacturing these vaccines locally here in the Republic of Ghana?
I'll give you an example. I said that last year, His Excellency the President commissioned the Atlantic Life Sciences facility. They are going to produce very soon this year anti-snake, anti-rabies vaccines. And they are also making plans to get other vaccines, including the childhood vaccines, also onto their plant. They fix the machines, and I'm sure they are going through the processes for this to happen. The other facility, which is going to be built by DEK, as we speak now, last week, Friday, we went to the site. There's a contractor on site who is doing the clearing for the plant to be put up. God willing, I'm sure before the end of this month or maybe early next month, we want to do a groundbreaking for that facility to start. It's going to be a very quick facility, and we are hoping that by the middle part of next year, the facility will be complete for work to be for the first doses of vaccines to be produced there. And we are hopeful that latest, according to the timelines that have been done by the Vaccine Production Committee, we are hopeful by the end of the third quarter of next year, the first doses of vaccines, which includes the childhood vaccines we use for about 13 diseases in this country, will all be produced there. They are having arrangements with vaccine manufacturers worldwide to bring in some of their drug products for them to do initially fill and finish. As you are aware, the law for the National Vaccine Institute was passed about a month ago, which is waiting for presidential assent. We now have a building which we call the National Vaccine Institute, which is going to be the center. It is going to be an agency under the Ministry of Health, which is going to facilitate, coordinate all vaccine production in this country. We are not only thinking about just doing the factory, we are also thinking about development of vaccines and other serum and biologicals. So we are moving Ghana from where we are making drugs like syrups and all these things into proper biologicals.
Okay.
And we need our research and development institutes, which we have coordinated all of them. We need also people who are going to have training, human resources, capacity building. Also, we also need to have technology transfer and then the marketing of the products together with the help of UNICEF and also Gavi. So it's going to be a comprehensive vaccine production and development system that we're going to put in this country. And to me, I'm so excited about it that we are now moving into a step where Ghana becomes a biological and serum and vaccines production center. And then we see that we will have what we call the biopharma parks in this country, where will be like what we are doing in India. We can produce all sorts of medications in this country and also try and sell it outside to attract foreign exchange into this country. That's the beauty of it. And that to me is one of the things that COVID-19 has brought. That to me is one of the visions that His Excellency the President have when we have COVID-19. And he said that never again shall we go into that problem again. So let us all support this thing. And very soon you'll see the first production of vaccines in this country.
When will La General Hospital be completed?
La General Hospital is also, as we speak now, they are looking at everything to make sure that La General Hospital will also start and complete.
When will it be completed?
Is the Minister of Health who is dealing with this with the Minister of Finance. I'm sure, I know that the process has passed through Parliament. Parliament has given approval, but you all know what we are doing in this country, debt restructuring and everything about IMF and all this is. There was a few things that happened, that's what I understand, about the funding and the investor and those who are bringing in the money. That all is being sorted out, and very soon work at the General Hospital will start it.
Well, I need to wrap up this conversation, but there are also other abandoned hospitals, the Kumawus of this country. Do we know when they are going to be completed?
Yes, as we speak now, there's work going on. If you like, you can send your reporter to go and see work being done. Now they finished the installation of Formana Hospital, and they are doing training on the equipment.
Okay.
You see, maybe I have to quickly tell you. The previous government was doing a number of hospitals. That is Dodowa, Formana, Umewu, Abetifi, Garu Timpani was then one district. And then some buildings at Takoradi European Hospital. And then also at Kasarado.
Doc, forgive me. My time is up. And we're sure in the future, yes, I'll take it up with you on that. And we're sure to be able to push it.
Because I want to Maybe I'll come
Okay.
to the studio and then come
Yes.
and tell you exactly about
what's the status of these hospitals. And I'm grateful to you for joining us this evening.
And Eurojet projects.
Brilliant.
Let's have that conversation.
I'll be very glad to engage you on that. Many thanks to you. Dr. Anthony Nsiah-Asare was awarded yesterday as part of those national honors, and he's also a presidential advisor on health and the former Director General of the Ghana Health Service. Many thanks to you for joining us on UPfront today.